It is Thursday, September 25th, 2025, and today we are all about Penn State and Oregon. Got some other stuff to talk about too. We're going to talk about the future for Oklahoma State and what that program is going to have to do to move forward, given their history and kind of what things are looking like. Some of the early names and favorites for that new head coaching job that opened up over there in Stillwater. So, a lot to get to today. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, though. Thank y'all so much for the for tuning in the last couple of videos, getting us a couple more subscribers. We're up to 189 on the path to 200. All you gotta do is hit the subscribe button. It's free. It's always gonna be free. But we're here constantly, and we're diehard college football fans. So we're gonna be here every single day as best we can. I mean, obviously you miss days. Working a full-time job, doing this as a second full-time. Sometimes you just miss. Sometimes you just miss. Yesterday I ended up working a second job, um, picking up at my part-time job, and ended up getting home later than I thought I would, and just didn't have the time to get a video out. I didn't think it would be appropriate. So today we're doing yesterday's video. Tomorrow we're going to add Alabama, Georgia to our list of things to do on the Friday show. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Hope you all enjoy this one. If you do, again, leave a like, subscribe. Let's go ahead and talk Oklahoma State. Of course, they fired Mike Gundy the other day, and we talked about it on Tuesday. We talked about how that was going to go, what the program looked like under him, what the programs looked like the last couple of years, and how they could move forward. And really, the answer isn't simple by any means. There's not really a foregone conclusion on how this needs to pursue forward. It's kind of a tough process at the moment, really, if we sit back and think about it. You know, you look at this team, and prior to Mike Gundy taking over as head coach, this team had only had 3 10-win seasons ever in their history. They had 8 10-win seasons under Mike Gundy, and a stretch of 18 straight winning seasons, which is the most they've ever had by far, um, going from 2006 to 2023. Again, 8 10-win seasons, 3 of 10-win seasons prior to that. Mike Gundy took over for Les Miles when he was hired at LSU. We all know how Les Miles at LSU worked out, but that's when Mike Gundy took over, and they went 4-7 in his first year. And then they picked it up. They started just getting better and better and being above 500 even as they went on, and ultimately started becoming a really solid program. That 2011 team was the one that really stands out when they really stepped up and essentially took over the college football world for a little bit in that 2011 season before they would lose to Iowa State and lose their chance to play for a national title. This team, when you look at how they move forward, what is forward for them? Are they expecting to be Big 12 contenders on a year-to-year basis? Are they expecting to just be bowl eligible on a year-to-year basis and compete for 10 wins at a Big 12 title every 3-4 years? What is their true expectation? Because this is not a school who's had those type of expectations. Those 3 10-win seasons, by the way, 2 of those 3 came with Barry Sanders as a player on this team. So prior to that, only one. Those 3 all came in the 80s. This team has this program, I think, has some potential, but I think that they do lack significantly in the money department and in the NIL game. That's what's going to make this job difficult. That's what's going to make Oklahoma a tough landing spot, especially when you're competing with teams like Texas Tech, who are spending money. Arizona State's spending money. Utah is spending money. TCU and Baylor are going to be spending some money. And when you have teams like that at the top of your conference that do that on a year-to-year basis, and then you have other schools that just have good head coaches, right? You have Matt Campbell at Iowa State, Chris Klieman at Kansas State. I don't care how bad they look this year. K-State's a good team and they're well coached. You can even look at Kansas and Lance Leipold and what they've done. I mean, and it goes beyond that. There's a lot of schools in this conference that are just well coached, and then on top of that have money. What does Oklahoma State have to do? Who do they go after? Who makes the most sense as a hire? A lot of the names I've seen come from the state of Texas, and there's obvious reasons for that because that's a big recruiting bed for Oklahoma State. That's where they really go and get the majority of their talent. It comes out of Texas. And that's great, but they're competing with Texas, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, TCU, SMU, even Houston's picking themselves up, and I didn't even mention them as a really well coached team that's also got money. You know, they're competing with a lot of teams down there for some of the same talent, and they tend to be left on the wayside. And it comes down to who's a better coach, who's able to coach a team up to that level. So here's some names that we've seen so far. Jeff Traylor pops up once again, which is It's interesting. I think Jeff Traylor's an interesting name to throw in there. Of course, the UTSA head coach has been in the conversation a lot. It's kind of fallen off over the last couple of years. I think that comes a lot to do with the NIL situation down there. But that's the name that pops up. Eric Morris at North Texas pops up. I think that could be a fun one. GJ Kinney at Texas State. I'm all for that. Alex Galesh at USF. Will Stein is going to pop up in every name. Ben Arbuckle pops up. I don't really know if that's a reasonable thought, but Ben Arbuckle has popped up. Shannon Dawson's been popping up in a lot of these jobs. Todd Monken popped up, and that one really intrigued me. Of course, Todd Monken, formerly an offensive coordinator, he was actually the offensive coordinator in 2011 when this team went and was just shy of making a national championship run. Todd Monken, of course, known as the Georgia offensive coordinator in their back-to-back national title run before he departed for Baltimore and is currently the offensive coordinator of the Ravens. I think that is probably one of my favorite names in this that is not, maybe not quite as realistic, but maybe you just throw a number out and see if you can get him to bite. Look, I don't know that Todd Monken's looking for a head coaching job. I don't know that he's looking to come back to the college ranks. But if he did, and if he came back to Oklahoma State, I think that could really work out. I would be interested to see that. My favorite of these is GJ Kinney. I really love what he's done at Texas State. I would love to see what he could do at a Power 4 program. I'd like to see him do it with a program that has a little more money behind them. But if he comes in and succeeds at Oklahoma State and his offense works out well, who's to say it can't? Who's to say he can't go elsewhere? Or maybe even Oklahoma State doesn't start pulling in more money. That's who I would like to see. I don't really know if there is a clear-cut favorite. It's just pretty early in the process. And it's not like, the Southeast or Virginia Tech even. We're talking about guys like John Summerall, because that's not an area that John Summerall is familiar with. I don't know it's an area he'll go to. But I think that we could see somebody come out of that state of Texas in the American or Sun Belt and really maybe put something together. Who knows? Who knows what Oklahoma State's future is? I think it's going to be difficult. I don't think it's going to be the same expectations, or it shouldn't be the same expectations as before, because again, they just don't stack up financially. But it's an interesting prospect. I'm excited to see who they bring in. Again, that's a ways down the road, but still certainly a lot to look into. So that's where we stand on Oklahoma State right now. I just wanted to kind of give my thoughts and see how they can move forward. Moving on, we got a big game to preview here, and I did not get the bottom of this, so you're going to see a quick cut, and then we'll be right back and carry on. Now, on the bright side, there wasn't a whole lot to change, but getting to the bottom of that, we have it fixed. So these are two teams that have really faced, I would say, lackluster competition in terms of the ability to maybe lose or be challenged. With that said, I don't think that this is a game that we look at and say that there's a clear-cut advantage on either side. The biggest advantage is the fact that this is the whiteout game for Penn State. That's the biggest advantage in this game, hands down. We look at Penn State and what they've done in the past game. It's okay. It's not great. They're really not putting up anything crazy. And this is going to be the first real test for their wide receiver room to see if it is legit, if Trevor Pena is the guy that we've seen him be first couple of games, and if there's other guys who can step up and play well themselves. You look at the run game, it's been Katron Allen has been the best running back on the roster, averaging over 8 yards a carry. But we've seen a good amount of Nick Singleton. We've seen good things from both of these guys. Defensively, Penn State looks great, but again, they haven't really played anybody. Same thing with Oregon. They haven't really played anybody to say with certainty what's going to happen and how that's going to look. So really, this is the first true look at both of these teams to see who's legit and who's not. And this is an opportunity for Penn State and James Franklin to say, look, we are the contenders that everybody has said we were going to be from the beginning of the summer. This is a chance for Oregon to say, hey, look, yeah, we got a young quarterback, but he's wise beyond his years, and he can come in and lead in any environment. That's the kind of storyline we're looking at with these games. When I look at it, it's pretty simple. And these are the things that I came up with. For Oregon, it's create turnovers, find ways to quiet the crowd, and then limit their mistakes, limit penalties, limit turnovers, limit negative plays, limit big plays given up. Just limit the mistakes that you make, because you're going to make some, especially, again, a younger quarterback, depending on what kind of snap count you're using. We saw it last week with Texas Tech at Utah, and that it didn't kill them. Thankfully, Utah's offense kind of hurt themselves. But with Texas Tech, they were using a clap for their snap count, and it created a lot of false starts. I think 6 or 7, in fact, throughout the course of that game. And the issue with that is that sometimes you can't hear the clap over the crowd. So you got to go to a silent count. You got to go, try to utilize something different, because the clap doesn't always pierce through the crowd noise. And I don't think it's going to in this game. I just don't buy it. So that's a big thing in this game. It's just limiting those false start penalties, limiting those penalties that could really kill or hinder what could be a really good drive. I think those are some of the things that we're looking at from that side of the table. When you're looking at it from the Penn State side of the table, this is a young quarterback. This is his first start in a really big environment. He played at UCLA, sure, but this is not quite as big of a deal to play UCLA as it was to play Oregon for a Penn State crowd or an Ohio State crowd or whoever, you want to pick. It's not as big of a deal. This is the first opportunity in a really tough place to play, to go in and give yourself that opportunity. And I think they're going to have a chance to truly make him uncomfortable, make Dante Moore sweat a little bit, force those mistakes, those young quarterback mistakes, and be able to turn this game on its head a little bit and keep that crowd in the game. Again, this is not really much of anything other than just a chance to prove the wide receiver room. Chance to prove that you made the right moves in the portal and got the right guys at receiver. If Penn State can't throw the ball, they're not going to win this game. I don't care how much the crowd's in the game. It may be a lower scoring game. The under may hit by a mile, but if Penn State can't throw the ball, this is not going to be that close of a game. Like, Oregon's going to control it. The third one, I don't need to say it any other way. It's wide out. This is going to be the most insane this crowd will be all year long. I don't care who they're playing. I don't care who's in there. This is going to be the biggest crowd they'll face and the most chaotic crowd for the Penn State side all year long at home. So take advantage of it. Take advantage of the mistakes that it'll create, because it's going to. It always does. When you look at the lines for this game, Penn State's a 3.5-point favorite. The over-under sits at 52.5. You see those on the screen. Have seen those on the screen. My pick for this game, I'm picking Penn State to win, 21-14. I think that both these quarterbacks, both these teams are going to have their mistakes. I think that Penn State is, in fact, going to struggle to throw the football. But they're going to make the plays when it matters the most. And their running game is going to help them out a lot with that, because, again, the play action is going to open up. It's going to open up a lot of opportunities. As for Oregon, I think this is going to be one of those games where you do see the youth in Dante Moore. I'm not saying that they're going to look bad. I'm just saying that you're going to see that youth. You're going to see those uncharacteristic mistakes that we've seen early in the season, and it might change some things around. That's the expectation I have set. Now, granted, some of you are going to sit here and say, well, you have Dante Moore as a top 5 Heisman candidate right now. Well, yeah, I certainly do, and that's because of what he's done. I don't care about what he's going to do. What he's going to do has to happen on the field. That doesn't get to sway my opinion on what has actually happened on the field. That's why Dante Moore is in my Heisman conversation. And if they win this game and he has, I don't care if it's 225 and 2 touchdowns, as long as he's throwing the ball pretty well. He could go 17 of 22 for 225 and 2 touchdowns. And Oregon wins the game. He has maybe a little bit on the ground, maybe another touchdown on the ground. Dante Moore certainly a Heisman contender, and certainly jumps up that board, maybe even with an impressive win on the road and being able to go in and show some fight, show some grit in a tough environment. Those are all realistic opportunities. So, with that said, my pick is Penn State again, 21-14. I think we're going to see some younger mistakes from Dante Moore. It's not an indictment on who he is. He's a hell of a player. He's done a really good job. I was excited when he was looking to commit to Michigan. I'm more excited to see him just play the game and do what he's got to do. And we'll see how it turns out in this one. So that's my prediction. Let me know what you guys are picking. You taking Penn State or Oregon in this game? Let me know what you guys think about Oklahoma State, what the future may hold for that program as well. Would love to hear it. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank y'all so much for the support over the course of the early part of the season. Again, all you got to do is leave a subscribe or a like or both. Both helps. But if you subscribe, certainly it helps us get close to that goal of 200, which we are just 11 away from. It'd be really appreciated. I thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you're here tomorrow. We got our best bets for week 5 coming up tomorrow. We're still below 500, but we're not too off. We also have some other fun conversations. We'll have a Georgia and Alabama preview, as I was promised for you today. I made the mistake, so we'll get it tomorrow. You'll see Georgia, Alabama tomorrow, and then on top of that, just a little bit of injury news and some updates that we get as we go into the day. As for college football tonight, what do we have on tap? Army and East Carolina out there at Dowdy-Ficklen. East Carolina 4.5-point favorites. I'm going to take East Carolina to win, but I think that's going to be a fun game. Army's held it close in all their games so far. A lot of fun to be had, I think, in that one. So make sure you tune into that. I'm going to be tuned in as well. We've got playoff baseball coming up, and I know this isn't a baseball show, so I'm not going to make it one. But go Sox. A chance to clinch tonight. If the Astros lose and the Sox win, Sox are in the playoffs, and that's a big deal to me. So excited for that too. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Again, best bets for week 5 and a Georgia-Alabama preview. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Stay safe.